Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. For those of you who've been following my series, you'll realize that the show is about creating your reality. It's about spirituality, and you also know that I've become very involved in the 9/11 Truth Movement. But in order to have successful manifestations, in order to have joy and happiness in our life, and in order to have the creations that we like, it involves knowledge, and it involves understanding the relationship between our thinking and that which our thinking has created, both individually and collectively. One of the most exciting aspects in the spiritual world of manifestation is the area of precipitated art. And this is something so profound, so deep, and so vast that it often sort of goes off the radar screen of what most people can comprehend, even in the terms of those people who will believe it. To approach it as a science is something not often understood, and those who have developed the gift to do it have involved themselves in a lot of focus. So today I'm so happy to have with me a gifted psychic, Adele Linsalata,
Yeah.
who is going to be explaining to us more about the whole process of mediumship and precipitated art. So Adele, welcome to Farther Down the Rabbit Hole.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Paula.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to get to know you more as a medium so that people understand, or what does mediumship mean to you, and how did you discover this in your journey? And then we'll get on to precipitated art and these incredible cards that I have in my lap.
Mediumship to me is sitting there and being open and aware to spirit. It's raising my vibration to a level. Mediums can be psychics. They say psychics are not mediums. We work with a total different type of energy vibration.
And you're both, right?
Yes, I'm both. I'm more of a medium. I'm clairvoyance, which means that I can see spirit around, and also I hear them. All my senses are open to them.
Can you give an idea of what that means? I mean, do you know what it means not to see spirit, not to be clairvoyant?
No.
So you've been like this all your life?
Since I go back to since I was 4 years old.
Now, when you were 4 years old and you were describing things that other people were not seeing, was this painful?
It was painful, and it was hard at the same time, because it's a part of your life, to see them. And I had my grandfather, who had just passed away, show up at my other grandparents' home, and at the back door. And he kind of sat there and opened everything up to me, because I would see him. But it was because when I would say, "Oh, there he is right there," they would look at me and say, "Oh, stop that. Please don't do that. Why are you scaring the other ones?"
Right.
So it was very hard.
Right,
yes.
right. Because you're not in a society of peers.
No.
Not to mention later on that people will consider you a charlatan or deceiving, or why are you saying this, or you're just bumming my day.
Yes, just plain weird.
Right,
yes.
Right. So how did you find your way then? What did you do as a young girl?
Oh, well, it's interesting, because I would see other things, and I would go to school, and I would know people, who they are, right off the bat. And so
you could see their history, or
I could see their history, I could see what they were like, sometimes where they were going. And so I'd sit there and talk to them in that area, that realm. And it didn't really all the time work.
Because because people didn't often or all the time appreciate where they were going?
No, and when you're a little child and you're sitting there and you're telling someone, well, you're just this way, and because...
What's the worst example, or the most dramatic example? Not to bring up any pain, but just so my viewers can kind of connect with the depth of what you're saying.
Well, my one teacher, when I was in elementary school, I sat there and I told her I was so sorry that her mom had passed away. And she was like, "Oh, my mother is still alive, and she didn't pass away. Why would you say that?" And I said, "Because I see her next to you." And we were on a field trip, and my mother was so embarrassed. She was just like, "You can't, why are you doing this to me? Stop this. Why are you embarrassing me?"
How old were you when you said that?
Probably about 8 years old, 9.
8 years old, and you were just wanting to make her feel better.
Yeah. So the next week, came back to school, and the teacher had been out, and her mother had transitioned during that time.
Right.
So then they kind of come back and look at you like, And it wasn't talked about, no, because I went through Catholic school, and that was not talked about at all.
Right.
So yes, so it was always trying to
that you
keep
definitely,
it down.
you definitely had this gift.
But you know, at the same time, family, it's really hard dealing with family that way too, because it's not acknowledged, and you know, you don't tell them, and so it's very, very hard and stuff.
You know, it just occurs to me, as you're growing up and you're very beautiful and men are interested in you, do you think it frightens people, especially to become intimately involved?
Yes, it is frightening. You know, my teenage years, I think, were the hardest, because I could see so many things going on. And you know, as a teenager, you're involved in so many things. And
so if they said, no, I'm not smoking any dope, then you say, ooh.
Yes, because I was at a party, and we were sitting
what a mom
around.
to have, my mom's psychic.
Yeah, you know, but you know, you really don't say it, because back then, being a psychic, it was all back doors. You know, you had to know who was doing it, and it was word of mouth. And being a teenager, and yes, your friends are drinking, and you know, they're doing stuff, and what happens is I can see an ugly side come out on someone. And when that ugly side comes out, it just shows me the true person that's inside. We were at a party one time, and I was sitting there, and all these people were coming in. A friend of mine was like, well, who are these people? And I said, I don't know, but da-da-da-da. And I went around the room, and I said something about all of them. And later, when they found it was true, they're like, oh, you're a little too freaky. You're a little weird.
Right,
So
because
that was hard.
people kind of go into fear mode,
Yes,
right?
they go into fear mode.
So how did you eventually discover precipitated art? Because you would have an ability to grasp the depth of what this means.
I had seen it years and years ago, and a friend of mine sat there and showed me a card.
Just 1 second. Just to make sure that all the viewers are up on what we're talking about, in my hand are a stack of these incredible cards. I don't know if we can focus in on them. And these cards are an example of precipitated art. You can see how exquisitely done they are.
Very detailed.
Very, very detailed. This is one of them. This one is a little more vague. I think that won't show up as well. See if this can...
That's my master's card. That's the rays of the 7 Kohan. And when I received this one from one of my doctor guides, he told me that the reason those rays went across was because I work with the masters of the 7 Kohan rays. So it was really cool.
So what I just wanted to show people, now Adele is going to explain the first time she saw this, because these are cards not made by human hands.
No, actually they're with Reverend Hoyt Robinette. He's a physical medium, and he's just a wonderful conduit. He works very hard. He's very focused in his work.
But was he the first example?
He was the first example, and I went and sat in on a circle with him, and my mother was with me. And that night, everybody received all these beautiful cards with flowers and angels and fairies and saints and things, and I received a total different card from everyone else. And I was like, well, wait a minute.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What was your card? Is
my card was 2 of my,
are they here?
let's see, with my chief, that's St. John of God, with this one.
This was the first card that you received?
Yes.
Let's see if we can come in on this as Adele tells the story.
The top guide is Chief Rainmaker, and he is my protector guide, and the bottom one is Dr. Acker.
Oh, we're gonna focus on this.
Okay. Turn.
Okay, now we're focusing closer.
And it's a wonderful
picture. Nobody got a card like this in the seance.
Yes. No one. It was totally different from the other ones. So I was like, oh, wait a minute now. But then my thing is with Chief Rainmaker, my protector guide, I needed to know that he was really there with me, that all the work that I was doing at that time, he was there walking with me and making sure I was totally safe, I was protected. And I was more into working with herbs and everything. So the Native American.
Sort of a more earthy card, isn't it?
Yes, very earthy.
Sort of grounding, and that's what a psychic and a medium like you would need.
Yes, very.
You sort of have that reinforcement that we're with you here and we're practical.
Yes.
Right? Because they are a little, not somber, but... but
Well, you know,
serious.
he has a slate. Chief Rainmaker has a slate little grin on him.
Uh-huh.
He's just wonderful. I channel him in all the time in my classes, and he's just wonderful. You know, and he just takes me wherever I need to be. And so,
Wow.
mhm.
So explain the process to people.
With Hoyt,
How
Reverend Hoyt,
how Hoyt does this? How these cards come about?
it's really it's awesome because Reverend Hoyt will sit there and he puts he has a basket in front of it. It's a snake basket, and he shows you all his paraphernalia. He has all different types of drawing crayons and markers and felt tips, and then he brings out a brand new deck of 3x5 brilliant white index cards, and he has someone sit there and open them up, and that's to sit there and check each card to make sure there's nothing on those. And then he takes the cards along with the drawing paraphernalia and he layers them in his basket. It's a snake basket, so where it's totally dark. In this arena of doing precipitation, you need a dark cabinet. Okay, in old school mediumship, they used to sit in a room in a dark cabinet.
Right,
okay,
right. Old
yes,
school mediumship.
yes, old school mediumship is what I call it. The terms.
That's interesting because Sidney Schwartz says that many references in the Bible refer to such a cabinet.
Yes, and it's
so old school is very old.
Yes, it's very old. This has been around for eons.
But when you use the term old, are you implying that you don't need a cabinet?
With this, no, we don't need a cabinet because what he's done is he's shown how you can make a cabinet from the basket where it's totally dark.
I see.
And then he tapes his eyes and then he blindfolds himself. So he's totally blindfolded and sets the basket. He could set it, you know, away from him and stuff. And then he'll go around, he'll do some clairvoyant messages and for everybody off of what's called a billet, which a billet means a little letter in French. When he's done giving everyone a message, he'll open up the basket, and inside the basket are these wonderful cards for everyone. And all of these cards are your own journey. It's something just specifically for you, what's going on at that time, what's going to be going on later, because they're all off of your energy yourself. So Spirit is actually, he's not doing them, you're not doing them, but Spirit is sitting there producing these.
It's just incredible that those crayons and those drawing pencils could produce.
Oh, they're wonderful.
These.
And then my job, what I found working with my guides in Spirit is that if you have one of these cards in your hand, they just start coming to life for me. They come like 3D. This is actually a picture of St. John of God.
Oh, wow.
And,
he's the healer in South America.
Yes, and I work with him a lot.
Maybe you could talk about some of these.
And that was a picture that I was given of St. Joseph. Isn't he just like awesome? You can actually see the golden coming out of him with the healing, and it's just a magnificent picture.
I just see a beautiful card, you know?
It's a magnificent picture. So then,
look at this one.
Yes, he's one of my new doctor guides that I'm working with. He's very intense.
What's a doctor guide? Because they said I had a whole AMA in my aura.
Yeah, the doctor guide is very interesting because you can find a couple of different references there. They could actually be a medical professional doctor from years past. But also remember that this is an interesting card here too.
I'm sorry, I changed the energy.
I know
that the card.
It's going into two different things here. The doctor guides.
I love how you flow with the energy. I do that too.
The doctor guides actually do not have to be a doctor that was in a real life. They could have been one who has sat there and ascended to a level of knowledge and wisdom that they were gifted with the doctor title.
Oh, I see. So that they come back and they can help with the physical body because they've mastered the physicality
and it's not
by
just
being able to ascend.
Right.
Very interesting.
So they also sit there and work with us spiritually and emotionally.
That's why I always thought the healings of Jesus were so important because he really could put his money where his mouth was.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't just talk. He actually could take people who were really suffering.
This is a lovely one of the Blessed Mother, and behind her is, in the background of it, the lighter blue is actually the family of Christ: Mary Magdalene, Joseph, all of them.
You can see that? Oh,
yes,
in the
but
blue.
she's actually holding the Christ child in her hands.
It's so
and
beautiful.
it is beautiful. But there's so many more pictures into that card there other than the main picture.
Right, right.
And that's what I do. I read them.
That's why you read the cards.
Yes.
So in other words, you see your card or someone else's and it sort of inspires a journey?
Yes. What happens is as soon as I see someone's card, all of your guides and your teachers and your loved one in spirit starts talking to me. And these cards actually stand
Oh,
up 3D. And like I said, there's other things in the card than actually what's on there. So
right.
all of that comes, and I can't, they're like all talking at the same time, and I'm like, all right, now wait a minute. So
Because
they'll start
you
showing
have to
me,
use your
yes,
priorities, huh?
yes. So they start showing me who wants to be seen and heard at that time. First, it's almost like they line up. Okay, it's my turn. No, it's my turn.
You know, but even as I'm flipping them, you know, part of me wants me to go into greater depth, but at the same time, you know, I feel there's other energies coming
Yes,
through too.
yes.
Like two things I'm getting is, one is I'd like to know more about your journey with the Divine Mother,
Yes.
because that was something I studied in India.
Oh, she's wonderful.
And the other thing, I wanted to know how, when you look at a card, do you think you benefit from the sadhana or the spiritual practice of the medium who, like Hoyt, has exerted himself with a lot of discipline
Yes,
in order to achieve this? Like old style mediumship involved a certain amount of practice.
Yes.
Like what you had as a little girl, people can exert themselves for with spiritual practices. In India, there's a tradition.
Right.
Maybe here it's more esoteric.
Right.
And they wouldn't be surprised with this gift because they had prepared for it, they'd studied, they read about it, they knew it was going to happen. But you as a little girl just had it happen.
Right, and you have no teachers back then.
Right.
You know, it's
You were on your
interesting.
own.
My aunt used to do tarot readings and stuff, and try to do seances. And I didn't really understand what she was doing, but when she did those, all kinds of things started happening around.
Really?
And so I would sit there, and actually I was taught at my grandmother's house outside. I would have like little school, and the Blessed Mother with the angels and stuff used to come and teach me things.
It seems as though when these energies start to assemble, they assemble around people who are helping others.
Yes.
Like
yes.
your aunt would do readings for people who probably needed a
Yeah.
little lift.
And she's such a lovely energy too. But you know, we didn't have teachers back then, and like I said, it was a lot of word of mouth. You know, now you can go to a library and there's dozens
Right.
of books.
When you say you didn't have teachers, you almost had opponents, you know, people who were
Yes.
saying this is the work of the devil, right?
Oh yes.
Look at, can we hone in on this, I wonder? I don't know. Oh, well, we'll have someone. This is really a delicate one.
Very delicate.
So isn't that sad that people would say that
Yes,
when
it
you
is.
were helping?
Because it's such a wonderful gift. Once we really have a chance to sit there and go who we are with it, the children being born now, they're so open to all of it. And,
Right.
and
Well,
it's
the
just
new
going to
age,
keep
we
opening.
have to think. Look at how mysterious this is.
This is a wonderful picture because it just talks about the emotions. It talks about the energies. And you know, when I work with this card, this is from a past life that I had. And I know some people are like, oh, well, past lives, but I do believe in past lives and reincarnation. And you can actually see other pictures coming in behind in the
You
blue
mean
area.
from here?
There and then over behind this, yeah, right there is another face.
Oh, wow.
And so these were individuals that worked with me. I worked with them in that lifetime, just coming to let me know. It's my own confirmation of things on the visions that I see.
In other words, it doesn't come out of nowhere in a way.
No,
That you sort
it's
of
all
were
a part of
prepared
me.
to get the card.
Right, it's
And then
all
when
a part
it
of
came,
me.
it just confirms.
So every card that you receive is actually a part of you in one aspect,
Right.
form of another. And when I look at someone's card, I can, you know, tell them about their past lives. I can tell them currently what's going on and anything in the future.
Just from one card.
Just from one card.
It doesn't
Yes.
matter who it's a picture of.
No.
What about this card?
This one's interesting because it's such a pirate, isn't he?
Yeah.
I love him. And at that
Yo
time,
ho ho and a bottle of rum.
yes. At that time, I was going through some challenges. You know, as we step out in who we are more, and especially as a metaphysical teacher, there are challenges out there. And so he came in to show me that he was just going right through everything. This is my Dr. Doolittle, and what's wonderful about him is the various of colors that he has, the gold and the yellow, the orange and the red, and then going out to purple. This is talking about my energy and spiritually where I'll be going in the future.
It's so
And
clear.
it's beautiful, isn't he? He's so
Yeah.
handsome.
Yeah. but everything. Oh yeah, and this was the one that you started with. What about this? I can't even
That
tell.
was in this
Do I
circle
have
with
it
Hoyt.
right?
Yep, in this
Let's
circle
see
with
if she can
Hoyt.
explain this, 'cause it's
It's the
beyond
same.
me.
Yes, it's the same Dr. Guide as the one with the reds and yellow, the oranges. And he sat there and says, "Now I'm going to put a picture of myself on here." He says, "And I'm going to be putting something different. And don't get worried about it." He says, "Because you're going to be seeing in color." And he says, "That's why I'm drawing this." So he put all these different colors going across him. And so that's just my verification, confirmation once again. Over to the other side of the card is one of my master teachers.
On the back side, you mean?
Oh, well, no, the back
Oh, no.
side, yes, has all the names
Right.
of
But what
those
did you mean
working
by
with
the
me.
other side?
The other side of the card, over on this side, right
Oh.
here. And it's one of my master teachers. And the light is coming down from him. He's out in the woods. And so there's a tree around him. So he's just letting me know that he's there. So when I pick up my own cards, it's very interesting because I have to look at what I'm going through right now, and then they'll tell me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And finally, this card, explain. We started off with that. It's
This one
so
was also, well, they're all very special to me, but this one, when the Blessed Mother came to me and said, "You'll be working with others in different areas and stuff," and I received this card, and she sat there and said that you'll be showing the children to the New Jerusalem. And then here is this wonderful young boy that's pointing over to Jerusalem, and it's just all very clear and lit up. So I was very ecstatic with that, and that just gave me confirmation with her message to me and the work that we're doing.
The New Jerusalem. So it's like a state of consciousness? Because like you said, when you were young, your aunt was doing tarot cards and it was like whispered about.
Yes.
So that seemed like the old Jerusalem to me, or
Yeah,
something.
Well, it's the old energy.
The old energy.
Yes, it's the old energy.
And so the new is that we can start to look at it freshly and in a clear way and be open about it and say, let's be up for scientific investigations, like maybe somebody could put brainwave scans on you that, you know, I mean.
Yeah. But it's also about sharing and love.
Right.
You know,
of course.
the old energy is, years ago when I was a young girl, like the seances and the tarot and stuff, people didn't really like it. I remember my grandmother saying, "Oh, that's just nothing, you people don't need to be here," and everything.
You people.
Yes,
Ooh,
you people don't need to be here. And because
when they said you people, they meant you as a psychic or your whole family?
No, individuals coming to get like a tarot reading. And she was like,
you people.
Right, you people don't want to be here and stuff.
Really, and she meant that because probably somebody worried her about
Right,
it.
she didn't believe in it,
Right.
and yes.
She was scared.
We have so much conditioning from society on what to believe and who to be.
And yet a psychic can find themselves born into a family of disbelievers, right?
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
that's part of the test.
Oh, yes, it's part of the test and what we choose. That I know well, yes.
You light up
that I know well, yes, that I know well. I have a very large
if
family.
you think about it, because my family has been critical of some of my choices, but you know, you're here for an adventure.
Yes.
And if your family was all convinced, you wouldn't go any farther than that. You'd just sit in the womb of your own family and not move.
You stay there.
So there's a reason, isn't there?
Oh yes, they're a wonderful challenge, and I love challenges.
Yeah.
So they are a challenge, and it makes you just grow more.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there and this is a purpose where you're supposed to be, a mission, you can be surrounded by anything and still grow and still ascend to where you should be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're
So it's
all
wonderful.
in our exact right place.
Yes. Yes.
What kind of work do you think you'll be doing with the mother? You were saying, how did you say, the divine mother? That's the term I use, the divine feminine? Or?
Well, it's a divine feminine energy, but I work with the Blessed Mother.
The Blessed Mother. That's Jesus' mother?
Yes, and some people do get a little upset with that, but then I have to remind them it's the divine feminine energy.
Right.
And she came to me years ago and she says, "You're going to be bringing something that's new to others but very old to us, and you're going to work with the children to take them to the New Jerusalem." And the New Jerusalem is about a higher energy, vibration, and it is about the divine feminine coming in. The divine feminine's been coming in for a while, and the old energy of not sharing, of thinking, "Oh, this is just me. Only I have this. I can't teach you that because I'm special." No. And with the divine feminine, we bring it in, and it's about sharing. you know.
So in other words, it's not these special people, but if people want to exert themselves, you'll give a class.
Right, it's everyone.
Have you inspired people to become psychic, or?
Oh, I pray I have. I have a lovely group of students and clients, and yes, they're just wonderful. And in my classes, my seminars and workshops, I teach individuals the basic foundation, and everybody needs that foundation. And then we go through, and it's called spiritual development, because the first part of these classes and stuff is all about you spiritually inside. And then the second part is about developing, sitting down and meditating, going through it, trying to raise your vibration.
Maybe in a way you sort of activate people. You just tell them it's okay, and just that's a big load and a block removed.
Yes, it's
just to say there's a science, there's a tradition behind this. It's real.
It's real, and you know, when they sit in my classes, well, they will say this when they sit in the classes. They come in and they're at a certain awareness, and within 6 weeks to like 12 weeks, they're just like, my gosh, I'm just like blown away. You know how much this really works, and how now I'm abundant in my life. So it's really wonderful.
And it makes them a better human being.
Oh,
it doesn't make them a different human being or unhuman or...
No. We're just working to bring out that inner light of them inside.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
And they're awesome. But I have some wonderful students. Yeah.
We have about a minute and a half. Is there anything that you'd particularly like the New York audience to know or
Oh,
share?
I love New York.
Do you have a message for
New York? I love New York. You know, New York sat there and went through something years ago that was to sit there and to open them up. You know, I have to honor all of those who we lost during 9/11.
Right.
I send my prayers to the families, to the survivors, and with lots of love, but I have to honor those who transitioned, because it is such a huge honor to be a part of all of that. You know, we don't want to lose them, but what they did. So New York is, yes, it's actually very blessed.
That's very well put.
Yeah,
that's very well put.
Blessed.
That in a certain way, it marks a certain point in collective evolution.
Yes.
And that just like anything else, a bad thing can become a good thing.
Yes, it's waking up.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's waking up. So, yes,
well, Adele, thank you so much for joining us. And
thank
your
you.
website is what?
AngelicWiseOnes.com.
AngelicWiseOnes.com. Yes. So I would encourage you to learn more about Adele's work. And thank you for joining me. I'm Paula Gloria, and this has been Farther Down the Rabbit Hole.